A Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon. Vocabulary lesson. Have you ever heard of chickenpox? Some of you have not heard of chickenpox. It was a very contagious and itchy rash. I myself had the chickenpox when I was 5 years old. It was very itchy and it was all over. It was a bunch of red, itchy bumps. And my mom got calamine lotion, which was a remedy to kind of soothe the itching. And she put it all over my rash. And it is very contagious because as soon as I got over it, my brother got it. Here are the mumps. I bet you've not heard of the mumps, but when someone got the mumps, they got very sick and then they would get these large bumps on the side of their neck. Looks very uncomfortable. And how about the measles? You've probably heard of the measles. Sadly, people today still come down with the measles, but not to worry. Most of you are most likely immune. But here's a sunburn. Now, you've either heard of a sunburn or you've had a sunburn or you know someone has had a sunburn and you know this from being out in the sun way too long and not having sunscreen. All right, so here we are. This is our learning objective. By the end of the lesson, students will complete a range of vocabulary activities to determine the meaning of known and unknown words, which are our vocabulary words here stated, and with 100% accuracy as measured by teachers' answer keys. So what that means to you today, students, is we are going to read A Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon. As we read, we are going to learn some interesting vocabulary words, and by the end of the lesson, we are going to complete several vocabulary activities to determine the meaning of the known and unknown words from A Bad Case of Stripes as we learn about Camilla. So before we do all of that, we're going to play a word game and complete a word association activity. You're going to find out what that means. And then after that, we're going to read the book. And we will complete a context clues activity and start a vocabulary connections activity to check our progress. Then we will work in groups of 5 for the dictionary portion of the connections activity. After we check our definitions, you will get to make a very cool bookmark. So to get us started, here are our vocabulary words. We're going to be listening for these vocabulary words as we read through the text, and they are from, again, A Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon. All right, so to play the scrambled word game, you must unscramble each word and write it on the line. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Here is our sheet, and these are the words, and these are the scrambled words. And you're going to figure out which of these words are the ones that are scrambled, and you're going to write them on the line. Some of these lines didn't print, but they'll be on your sheet. And you're going to write the word from the word bank down this side. And then after you have unscrambled the words, we're going to read each situation from our word association activity in the first column. And then you're going to write the word that you think is associated with the situation in the next column. You may turn and talk with your neighbor about the words and situations as you work on your sheet. And here is the sheet. Here are the words again in the word bank. Here are the situations. Here's the first situation. Karen has dark and itchy spots all over her face. You're going to look at these words after we've talked about them a bit, and you're going to write down the word that associates with these situations. And now it's time for our read aloud. Now, for the interest of time, I'm not going to read the book right now, but I will show you here that I have the page numbers listed and the words, and I also have a template that I'm using to discuss the student-friendly definitions and the context and multiple exposures of the words from the text. So, for example, the word examine, I would get to that part of the book. I would say, that afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camilla. And then I would find examine on my template, and I would tell them the student-friendly definition, which is to test or look carefully at something or someone. And then I would give them a context that's different than that of the book. The doctor will look at and carefully examine Karen's blotches. And then I will give them several, like 3 exposures more for the word, and we would discuss this as we were going through them. I will carefully examine your work, or the doctor examined my eyes from my new prescription glasses. And then a third option, the flight attendant examined my boarding pass before I got on the plane. And we would talk about student experiences with the word examine so that we can make those connections. And now we would review context clues, which we have been discussing because we've been working through the book. And now here we are, we're going to say here, context clues hint the meaning of the unknown word in a paragraph or sentence. Sometimes the meaning is stated before or after the word. Sometimes the clues are in the same sentence as an unknown word. And then I would review these other examples of context clues here, including inference, which is using the gist of a paragraph to figure out the meaning of the unknown word. And we would discuss gist, and I believe that's using higher thinking skills for the students, and that would address that. All right, and then we would begin, students, our vocabulary context worksheets after our read aloud. So here, for this worksheet, you will learn how to use your vocabulary words in context. First, read the sentence containing the word, then write what you think it means in the next column. After everyone is finished writing, I will give you the student-friendly definitions of the words. And then in the last column, after we've seen those definitions, you're going to mark if it was correct or incorrect. If you finish early, you may begin working on your vocabulary connection sheet, but only the first 3 columns, if you finish early. And here's our words in context. Here are the words, here is the context, and then I want you to write what you think it means in the next column. And after you've worked on that a bit, here are the student-friendly definitions, and you're going to check your definitions to see if you were correct. If you are not correct, you may make changes. And here is the beginning of the vocabulary connections worksheets. Now this is individual work. For this worksheet, you will learn how to use vocabulary words in context. Let me see if I can. Actually, you will write what you think the word means in this first column. And then you will go to your book and you will write the context clues that you've learned from the book. And that's what you will be working on individually. All right, and after a bit, it's finally time for the dictionary activity part of this. Finally, you may take out your dictionaries to fill in the real definitions. Students, these are the steps on how to use a dictionary. First, you will read the sentence containing the unknown word. Then you will think to yourself, not aloud this time. You will think to yourself and guess the meaning of the word based on the clues in and around the word. Then you will actually look in your dictionary and look at the multiple meanings of the unknown words. Some words have multiple meanings. And you will need to decide which definition makes the most sense with the sentence around the unknown word. And here's the sheet. And this part, after you've gotten the real definitions, you're going to mark to see if you got it right. All right, so that is great work, everyone. Now let's review the vocabulary words and their definitions. Here are the words with the actual definitions from the dictionary. And here is blotches, an irregular patch or unsightly mark on a surface, typically the skin. Contagious, of a disease spread from one person or organism to another by direct or indirect contact. A contagious infection, like my chicken pox. My brother got them, remember? And then examine, to inspect someone or something in detail to determine their nature or condition. Investigate thoroughly. Specialist, a person who concentrates primarily on a particular subject or activity, a person highly skilled in a specific and restricted field. Extraordinary, very unusual or remarkable. Remedies, a medicine or treatment for a disease or injury. And vanished, disappear suddenly and completely. And there would be some time for some wrap up here given from the students and from myself, and we would make sure that everyone understands the words and their meanings. Now, here is our closing and our summative assessment. So I would say to the students, now let's see what you've learned. This is a bookmark, and I'll show it to you in a moment, that you may color and design however way you like. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring it up. You can color it and design it any way you like, and I want you to then write one of the vocabulary words that you've learned here. Write what it means and what it's like here. And then once you've got it all colored and designed and all filled out, including your name at the bottom, you're going to take your scissors and very carefully cut along the dotted line here, the dotted line. And then once you have it cut out, you're going to fold it here on the solid line and use a little glue to kind of paste the inside, the blank side of the bookmark, so it will then fold up like a bookmark. And that is my very best attempt at a video lesson. I hope that I feel more confident about this one than the first one. And I feel like if given on a smart board, I would have more room to work and be able to point and gesture and work with students a little bit better than using a PowerPoint. But this was the best I could come up with to determine the best avenue to teach this lesson. I do believe I got my hook in, I got the introduction to the learning objective in, I modeled to the best of my ability given what I have to work with, and did the guided practice as best as I could given the technology. And as I've said, I feel a bit more confident about this video lesson than the first one. So I hope you enjoyed, and please give me any feedback that you think might help. Thank you so much.